Every laugh you heard, every cheer you thought was fun, was a lie. Chris McLean smiled as they screamed. Total Drama wasn't a show, it was a carefully staged nightmare. 22 teenagers trapped on islands, abandoned camps, and deserted film lots, pushed to exhaustion, terror, and chaos. Explosives, wild animals, hunger, and fear weren't accidents. They were his tools. The network covered it up. Cameras rolled, audiences clapped, and behind the edits, a true cartoon psychopath orchestrated it all. Tonight, we peel back the laughter, the edits, the charm. This is the criminal file of Chris McLean. Chris McLean is a man who wears two faces. On camera, he is charming, confident, and full of jokes, always ready with a grin and a witty line. His hair is perfect, his energy magnetic, and he seems to love drama for fun. Behind the scenes, however, he is a control freak. He plans every challenge to push contestants to the edge, enjoying their fear, pain, and desperation. He doesn't just host a show, he orchestrates near-death experiences while laughing as teenagers struggle and suffer. Over multiple seasons, more than 20 young contestants have endured his manipulations, trapped on isolated islands, abandoned camps, or deserted filming locations with no escape. The first season, Total Drama Island, was the perfect example. Chris promised fame and prizes to 22 teens, but instead delivered a remote island rigged with dangers, wild animals, explosives, and psychological traps. Phones were confiscated, parents left behind, and contestants had no choice but to obey. In one infamous scene, teens were dropped by helicopter without parachutes, told to survive for 8 weeks. Injuries, poisonings, and hallucinations were common. All of this was filmed, edited, and broadcast as entertainment, while Chris observed from the control room, calm and calculating, turning real fear into ratings. At this point, the island stops looking like a set and starts looking like a containment zone. Chris McLean isn't supervising a competition. He's running a controlled environment where stress, fear, and exhaustion are used as tools to dominate the people trapped inside it. In The Sucky Outdoors, he deprived teens of sleep for days, forcing exhaustion to amplify mistakes and panic. By the time shock therapy rolled around, contestants faced simulated electrocution, their terror broadcast under the guise of humor. Food, water, and medical attention were deliberately limited. Stripped of basic rights, teens became dependent on Chris for survival. The network edited these moments as funny reactions, but in reality, they were signs of manipulation, a textbook case of Stockholm Syndrome. The teens weren't playing a game, they were learning to obey their captor. Every act of aggression is deliberate. Chris isn't chaotic, he's calculating. Meltdowns are filmed, replayed, and amplified to heighten drama. When contestants challenge his authority, he rigs votes, twists rules, or eliminates them entirely. In All Stars, he introduced mutants to the island, forcing teens into life-threatening encounters with radioactive sharks. Nothing is accidental. Every scenario is carefully escalated to test limits, reinforce fear, and deepen dependence. The sadistic control loop is clear. Inflict suffering, reward survival, tighten dependency. Pain becomes a tool, fear a weapon, obedience a metric. Chris watches from the control room, coffee in hand, as contestants compete, struggle, and betray one another. By the time the edited show reaches audiences, it looks like entertainment, but the true pattern is far darker. Chris McLean doesn't run a competition. He designs controlled chaos, where fear becomes currency and obedience decides who survives the next challenge. Once the footage is cut, colored, and laugh tracks are added, the danger disappears on screen. What remains looks like harmless fun, but underneath is a system built to break people. Chris McLean rarely gets his hands dirty, preferring to orchestrate from a distance. He charms the camera, smiles, and jokes, while the contestants face danger he engineered. "Relax, it's just a game," he says, as Owen nearly sinks into quicksand, or as others crawl through fire ants and electric eels during "I Triple Dog Dare You." On the surface, it seems playful. Strip away the laugh track and its psychological torture. He convinces teens to risk life and limb because he framed it as fun. Compliance becomes a measure of survival. Fear becomes a tool, and trust is a weapon he wields with precision. Chris pits friends against one another, turning allies into enemies. Heather versus Gwen, Duncan versus Courtney. Every betrayal is engineered, every confrontation calculated. Fake eliminations, confessionals filled with hidden cameras, and manipulated votes create a web of deceit. Bonds form, but only to be shattered. Love bombing, praise, encouragement, they are temporary, hooks to tighten control. Each contestant learns that approval is conditional, affection is transactional, and loyalty can be exploited. The root cause lies in Chris's history. Fame obsessed from youth, his early failures left humiliation and rejection in his wake. B-list movies, abandoned projects, ignored ambitions, total drama became his stage for revenge. A controlled environment where he could recreate the pain he endured as a child, this time on younger, vulnerable versions of himself. Home life whispers of neglect, absent guidance, siblings stealing the spotlight, and kindness twisted into cruelty. The island isn't just a set, it's his kingdom, a laboratory of control where he plays God, consequences erased, accountability discarded, until the facade cracks and the hidden horrors emerge. No operation this calculator runs on one man alone. Enter Chef Hatchet, Chris McLean's silent partner, his right-hand brute, his mirror image in muscle and menace. He is the silent enforcer lurking in the shadows, executing the horrors Chris designs. Booby traps, midnight abductions, and grueling punishments are all carried out under his watchful eye. Chris hates him privately, resents his presence, but relies on him entirely. The dynamic mirrors what Chris imposes on the contestants. Blind loyalty extracted through fear. Chef punches, starves, and terrifies, reflecting Chris's own sadism back at the victims. The cycle is chilling. Chris engineers cruelty, Chef enforces it, and the teens are caught in the middle, powerless, isolated, manipulated. There is no self-awareness, no reflection on morality, just hypocrisy and repetition. Each challenge, each punishment, is a rehearsal of the same toxic patterns, and the horror is designed to repeat itself week after week. Total Drama understands the power of this pattern. Chris is given charisma, witty one-liners, and camera-friendly moments that disguise calculated malice. Yet the show does not excuse his actions. Every act of endangerment has consequences, visible in lawsuits, contestant revolts, and moments of rebellion on Pahkitew Island. Lashana fights back, Cameron escapes, and even brief glimpses of resistance punctuate the narrative. The audience is reminded that there is no free pass for It's Just TV. Reunions and confessionals reveal trauma, PTSD jokes, panic attacks, broken trust, all underscoring the reality behind the spectacle. Love and loyalty exist only on Chris's terms, conditional and transactional. The narrative refuses to reward the monster, holding him accountable in story if not in law. It's rare for cartoons to depict consequences over charm, but Total Drama pulls it off. Even amid the chaos, moments of twisted hope flicker, hints of redemption that never fully arrive. The audience watches the cycle, sees the mirror, and understands the danger. The sadist's blueprint is clear, and it leaves no one untouched. Every operation this vast leaves traces, whispers, leaks, moments that don't quite fit the official story. Chris McLean doesn't just orchestrate the chaos, he ensures the evidence vanishes behind edits, NDAs, and laugh tracks. But cracks appear if you look closely. Even in his rare moments of help, Chris McLean's intentions are never pure. He saves Sierra from a shark, pretends to care when a contestant is injured, and sometimes offers comforting words after a brutal challenge. But these acts are carefully calculated, nothing more than performance. Every smile, every reassuring pat, is a tool to deepen control, to manipulate contestants into compliance. The kindness is fake, self-serving, and meant to keep the cycle of fear and dependence going. True change? It never comes. By the finales, the island explodes, challenges collapse, and contestants are all left battered, exhausted, and broken, while Chris laughs at the chaos sipping coffee as if the pain is entertainment. The ratings, not remorse, drive him. He doesn't stop. He can't. His obsession with dominance, drama, and control owns him completely. Redemption is impossible because he never seeks it, and the island becomes an endless stage for cruelty under the guise of competition. Chris McLean wasn't just a host. He was a criminal hiding behind a cartoon charm. Total Drama Island, All-Stars, Pahkitew Island, every season is a hostage scenario disguised as entertainment. The network knew. They packaged atrocities as humor, edited horrors into suspense, and buried complaints under production notes. Advertisers watched, profits soared, and the cover-up held. But decades later, fans and investigators peel back the edits and laugh tracks to see the truth. The manipulation, the coercion, the psychological games. Chris aged into legend, too real to dismiss, too close to the monsters who run real reality television. So ask yourself, was Chris McLean a harmless cartoon villain, or a blueprint for the predators hosting our favorite shows? His crimes are hidden in plain sight, waiting for the world to see the darkness behind the smile. Shaken? Good. Now you see the cracks. Which scar runs the deepest? The sinking islands, the mutants, or the endless nights? Vote. Debate the dark. Like if your view has changed. Subscribe for more cartoon secrets. Watch the cameras. Trust no island. Some places aren't meant to be left alive.